Welcome to the Activity Call Live. Now let's hear from our special guest host, Marcus Richardson.
And I am thankful that he gave me the most beautiful woman, the most patient woman, the most kind. Now I know some of y'all married, you feel this way about your wife too, but it's my time on the show, so I'm gonna go ahead and do this. But I'm just so grateful that Carla has loved me and loved me well, and allowed me to be Marcus to the fullest of what God has created me to be. And she's never tried to slow me down. She's never tried to tell me what I can't do, but she believes that God is doing something in us and through us together, as do I. And I thank you, Carla, if you're listening to this, for your prayers, or if you'll hear this later. But just thank you for loving me well, babe. I'm so grateful. I know y'all didn't get on the call this morning to hear that, but I just want you to know that where I'm at personally is I'm full of gratitude. Woke up this morning just super grateful to the bride of my youth for the last 21 years. I'm also grateful for Andy and Jane and what they have put together. And when I think about that and say that out loud, so Carla and I have been married 21 years. Andy and Jane have been in our life 13 of those 21 years. So they've been in my life with my marriage and my wife longer than they have not been. And so their example, how they've role modeled for us, they've been married 30 plus years. And I always say this, and I know we're going to talk about some of the details on this call, but when you're getting coaching from somebody, which is a point that we're going to hit on this, if you wouldn't trade your life for theirs, and I don't mean trade in the sense of, oh, I want what they have, but like if you don't like their results, for example, then you probably shouldn't get coaching from them. So I love getting coaching from Andy and Jane because they've been married 30 years. They have two beautiful children who want to be around them and work in the business with them. And ultimately, that's the goal that says that they're doing something right. And so I'm so thankful and grateful to Andy and Jane. I'm thankful that they allowed us to come alongside of them and work with them and building the alliance, helping and serving people, and the liberty that we have to be able to say who we are. We don't hide from it. We don't mix any bones about it. But really the goal is to help and serve more people. And that's one of the things that really attracted me to the alliance. And then I'm also thankful for the leaders who have come before me that have paved the way. All the alliance leaders over the years, the last 13 years. And if I start calling names, I'll miss a few and people will be upset. So I won't call any names, but you know who you are. Those who have stuck it out and been with Andy and Jane and really have come alongside to help build this machine that we are building. I'm so grateful and thankful and appreciative to you. And so I wanted to start out by saying thank you. And then just thankful for what God is doing in my children's life. Adriel and Maya, it's Adriel 16, he'll be 17 next month. He's still doing his barbering thing, got all A's and B's. And one C, it's a 78. He said he was working on it. But Maya, she's a straight A student. And Maya, I'm losing my voice. I had to drink some tea this morning. I was out shouting last weekend. 2-time state champion, y'all. Maya won again. We got a 2-time state champion, 5A dance division for Maya in Eagle Crest. That's Eagle Crest. Her school won it 4 times, and Maya has been a part of that 2 times in a row. So I am just so grateful to be on the call, and thank you guys for tuning in. But let's get into the details. So imagine I'm sitting down with you one-on-one, or we're sitting down in a group, and then we're kind of going through this. And so what I'm going to do is do my best to hit on the points that we talked about. Of like, the title for today's talk was, what do you do when self-talk isn't enough? What's the next move when you've been talking to yourself and the self-talk is not still producing the results that you want? And so I'm going to give you some of the things specifically that I do. But I will say this, that I think a person is a sum total of the choices they've made. And if you don't like the results that you're getting currently, you can make a different choice today before this call is over. And that choice can radically change your life. You can end 2024 strong. You can go into 2025 with a new mindset, a new decision. But then you also want to set up habits, right? Because your habits will produce who you become. And so when you understand, hey, I want to create success habits. I want to do the things that the top leaders are doing, the top salespeople are doing, and I want to be able to produce those results. So here's one of the things that when the self-talk isn't working, one of the habits that I have developed that I think is really key And I'm going to say this, and I want to read this one to you because I was reading last night, and I said this would be good for everybody to hear, just because I thought it was very, very pertinent to our call today. It's two of them. It says, the great aim of education is not knowledge, but action. So this is, what do you do when your self-talk isn't enough? Okay. And then the next quote that it said, that one was by Herbert Spencer. And then the next one says, this one I really loved. We should be taught not to wait for inspiration to start a thing. Action always generates inspiration. Inspiration seldom generates action. I'm going to read that one more time. It says, we should be taught not to wait for inspiration to start a thing. So don't wait to feel good, right? And I love the way Andy says it. You don't act your way into a feeling. You don't feel your way into an action. You act your way into a feeling. Is how we say it here, right? And then it says, action always generates inspiration. Inspiration seldom generates action. So there comes a time where you can talk to yourself all you want to. You can pray all you want to. Those things are all good. Don't get me wrong. And I think you should do those things on a regular basis. And I think you should stay consistent with those things. But there comes a time where you got to stop talking to yourself. There comes a time where you got to stop praying. Yep, that's coming from the preacher. Yep. And you got to put in action. A quick story that I'll just share with you. In the book of Joshua, Joshua was leading the children of Israel into the promised land, and they had just took over. And there was a certain city that they went in, the first city, and God had specific regulations and specific rules that he said, hey, this is the first city. Don't take anything out of the city. Consecrated, dedicated to me. Some people in the camp didn't listen. So what happened is they went up to battle in AI, and when they went up to battle, they lost. And they're like, wait, we've been winning. We've been crushing people. Like, why are we losing? And so Joshua, a leader, he goes in and he's praying. And Joshua was praying and he's praying and he's praying. And then finally, God speaks to Joshua, and I'm paraphrasing. It's Joshua chapter 7 if you want to read it later. And he says, Joshua, get up off your face. Stop praying. You got sin in the camp. You need to go deal with this. So what that means to me, there comes a time when the prayer and the self-talk, right? You got to get up off your face and you got to go to work. So what do you do when self-talk isn't working? You got to get to work. The W, the O, the R, the K. Step number 2 in the 8 steps of success. You can't get around the work. You can't get around putting in the reps. And that's one of the things I really want to stress when it comes to, hey, all the meditation and all the prayers and all the other stuff, right? I want you to do that, and you should do that. But what do I do when that's not working? You keep pressing anyway. Because here's what I know is that when things aren't working the way I want them to, I understand that this is a process, right? Everything that happens in my life and your life, it happens through process. And when I'm in the process of going through the tough times, and I'm in the process, or you're in the process, understand that the cake doesn't become the cake without the right steps to baking the cake. You got to have the eggs, you got to have the sugar, and I'm not even a baker, so I'm not going to go through all the ingredients. Y'all start laughing at me for those who bake, right? But you got to mix all that together. And then when you're mixing that together, you got to put it in the oven. And then as it's in the oven, it's going to get hot. It's going to heat up. And then it's going to come out a beautiful cake. A lot of people are in the oven right now. You're in the oven of life. I don't know where you are. You're closing out this year. You may not have money for Christmas. You may feel some kind of pressure. You may feel, hey, my business isn't where I want it to be, right? And we've all had that. I'm not producing the results I want to produce. But understand this. This is the process of your life and where God has you at currently. And you can't fast forward the process, right? All you got to do is understand that, hey, in the process, in the oven, I thank God for the oven because he's turning up the heat so the cake can come out like it's supposed to come out, right? Understand that. So what happens when I'm not getting the results, when I'm talking to myself and the results aren't working? You got to get to work. That's number one. Point number 1 is set up a schedule that says, okay, no matter what the results are, and this is, again, catch this, don't focus on results. Yep. I know that's coming from a salesperson, right? Focus on the process, because it's in the process that you become great. Say that one more time. Don't focus on the results. Focus on the process. process, focus on the activity, because it's in the process, it's in the activity that you become great, that God is making your character and showing you the different things you need to do in order to get to where he's called you to get to. But if we get bogged down on, I didn't get my 5 sales this week, or I didn't get my 5 sales today, or I didn't get my 10 apps, or I didn't get my recruits in, I didn't get my 8 recruits this month, I didn't get my 2 recruits. What happens is you can get discouraged. But if you say, you know what, I'm not going to focus on the results. I'm going to focus on the process. And eventually the results will come because I'm focused on being the best version of Marcus that I can be. I'm focused on being the best leader that I can be. I'm focused on being the best husband that I can be. I'm focused on being the best father that I can be, the best friend that I can be. When people come around me, this is what I'm focused on. I'm focused on giving them 100% of who I am and who God called me to be, because I know when I do that, I will unlock greatness in others. I'm talking, I know it's just me on here, but I want this to make sense, and I want to slow down here because I think this is so important. The mindset is critical, but sometimes you just got to get to work. And you got to keep pressing even when you don't feel like pressing, right? Because there are days where we don't feel like getting up early. There are days where we don't feel like making the 250 phone calls. There are days where people are hanging up on us, and it's, you talk to 10 and haven't booked an appointment. There are those days, right? And you can say everything you want to say to yourself, but at the end of the day, you got to keep going. Quit is not an option. I have a card on my desk upstairs, and on the card it says, winners never quit and quitters never win. Winners never quit and quitters never win. And guess what? I'm a winner. So there's no quit in me. There's no quit. There's got to be no quit in you. And you take that and say, I'm going to apply that every day. All right. So let's hit this next point. Before appointments. So it's interesting. I don't know if Gina knew this, but she asked me to also do the product call. So what I'm going to do today is try to give you the mindset before the appointment and getting our minds right. Okay. And then Thursday on the product call, Lord says the same, is that we'll actually try to go in home. Like now we've done the mindset stuff for the Friday call. Okay. But then on Thursday, we're actually going to go into, and we're going to do the in home. So now that I'm at the house, okay, what do I do? Right? What do I say? How do I do that? How do I engage people? So we'll do some in-home sales training on actual Thursday on the product call. But let's get into it. So before appointments, what are some things that we do in order to make sure that we are having success or keeping our mind right? So one of the biggest things that I think is you got to see yourself creating success. So like take time to see yourself making the sale. That's why God gave us an imagination. Use your imagination to be able to imagine yourself being successful. Imagine yourself getting the routing number and the account number. Imagine yourself picking up that $100,000 annuity. Imagine yourself, writing these cases. Imagine yourself getting a hug from the client saying, "Oh, Marcus, thank you. Oh, Jessica, thank you." Right? Imagine yourself winning. See yourself winning before you even go into the home, because what happens is it creates energy. We're all energy, right? Energy never dies. And so what energy are you giving off before you go into the home? Are you giving off the kind of energy that says, I'm just here for another appointment? Or are you giving off that energy like, man, I'm here to serve you. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you take care of your family. But see yourself having the success first. And then as you see yourself having the success, then you go in and duplicate that based on what you see. And here's what's crazy. People will pick up on your energy as you walk in the door. They'll pick up on, hey, there's something different about this lady. There's something different about this guy. I want to hear what he has to say. I'm interested in hearing what he's going to do and how he can help us. But it comes from you watching your energy. Now, let me say this too. You got to watch things that are energy vampires before the appointment. So, having those conversations that are going to be negative and toxic, you probably shouldn't have those conversations. So when you're in the field and you're doing your sales, or even before you get on the phone and you're doing your dials, you want to guard your mindset. So don't take calls that are going to be toxic. Don't be arguing. So for example, one of the things that my wife and I have set up, she knows my schedule, knows the calendar. Unless it's an emergency where I'm talking about like someone got into a bad car accident or someone's bleeding and we got to go to the hospital, right? We don't really talk a lot. because we're trying to guard my mindset because I got to go out and produce at a high level. And if I'm dealing with some of the other stuff that, one, I can't control, right, then that can throw me off my game. So that's another thing that is very important is guard who and what you're listening to before you get in the home. A number 3 way you can do that is I love Andy sent out this morning on our manager thing and on our team call audiobooks. Audible.com, audiobook.com. So turn your car into a rolling university. So that way you make sure you're getting in the good information. And that information can also help create the mindset that you want to have of success. The mindset of, I'm going to go in here and help people. I'm going to go in here and serve. So instead of listening to the talk radio, the ESPN radio, right? Instead of listening to the debate shows and the stuff that's going on with the politics, because imagine, you hear everything that's going on in the political climate and what's going on all over the world, and then you try to go into a home and perform at a high level, that energy is still on you. So protect yourself from that energy and help yourself have success by guarding what you listen to and what you put in before you go into the appointment. And then the other thing I think is really important before appointments, my grandpa always said this, my pops OJ, before he passed, he said, son, preparation only comes before opportunity in the dictionary. Say that one more time. Preparation only comes before opportunity in the dictionary. So what that means is you need to prepare for every opportunity that's going to come your way. Don't wait for the opportunity and then say, I'm going to get prepared because you've already missed it. And every opportunity has a shelf life. Most people think, well, this opportunity, what the alliance is going to be here forever. We don't know. Or this opportunity to do whatever it is that God's calling you to do is going to be here forever. You don't know. So prepare before you go to your appointment, because there might be a situation where a person has a question and you haven't prepared for it. Now, let me say this. Some people will take extra time and say, well, Marcus, I'm preparing instead of working. That is not what I'm saying. Don't spend a bunch of time, hours and hours preparing and not working. I'm talking about doing both of them. So you take time at night, you take time early in the morning to prepare yourself for whatever might come your way, right? Make sure you're prepared with your products. Make sure you know, hey, if they had this issue, this condition, here's what I'm going to offer them. That's the preparation. Make sure you're prepared with your people skills. Definitive book of body language. How do I read this? What am I seeing here? How do I communicate to people? Bringing out the best in others. Like the books that we have that are on Andy's book list. And again, step number 4, right? Reading the books. Those things are critical because that's going to be the preparation so that when you show up as the best version of yourself to make sure you're helping people. So are there opportunities that have come your way that you may not have been prepared for? I'm sure. It's happened to me. It's happened to all of us. Don't let it continue to happen, though. So take time now preparing yourself and becoming the best version of yourself. So as you become the best version of yourself, now when an opportunity presents itself, you're prepared to maximize the opportunity. Like, for example, we got these estate plans, right? If you haven't done a good job of stewarding your money, you're not prepared to maximize a deposit of $5,000 to get those leads, right? Or that's just another example of preparation before opportunity. You need to be prepared for that. And oh, by the way, it's not just $5,000. You got to have an office. You got to print the materials. Like that's just the initial cost. But if you don't prepare, right, now when an opportunity presents itself, like the estate planning, or hey, the lead team gets with you and says, oh, hey, we got a pocket of leads. You can maximize these leads in your area, but it's $700. If I haven't prepared for that, I can't maximize the opportunity. So I'm hoping this makes sense. You need to be prepared mentally. You need to be prepared emotionally, right? You need to be prepared financially, and you need to be prepared spiritually. Like those are the areas of preparation that if you make sure you stay on top of those, when an opportunity presents itself, you'll be able to maximize it. Another great example, y'all know I love doing this, but David was prepared for his opportunity when he met Goliath. Yep. Some people say, well, how was he? Remember what he said? David said, he said, who is this uncircumcised Philistine that's defying our God? Who is that person, right? So David said, they said no one wanted to go out to battle to fight Goliath. And so David then goes on and says, you know what? I'm going to go fight him. And Saul says, are you sure? Like, I don't know, David. You really want to go out and fight him? And here's what David said. And I want you to catch this. David said, the same God that delivered me from the bear and that delivered me from the lion when I was on the backside of the desert taking care of my father's sheep. So when I was going through my preparation, the same God that was preparing me for this has prepared me for this opportunity to knock out my Goliath. I hear you. I feel my help coming. So what have you been going through in your life that you can now say, hey, everything I went through up to this moment has prepared me for this opportunity with the Alliance. Every heartbreak, every setback, every death, everything that I didn't want to have happen has prepared me to go tackle my Goliath. I don't know what your Goliath is. I don't know what's standing before you. I don't know if it's debt. I don't know if it's unbelief. I don't know if it's self-esteem. I don't know if it's your self-image. I don't know what it is, but have you been preparing for it? And you can go back and you can look and you can check the track record. You can check the resume of the one who called you and say, you know what? The same God that delivered me from death, that delivered me from the setbacks, that delivered me from the hurt, the same one that brought me out has prepared me for this very moment, has prepared me for this opportunity. But you got to look at it that way. Everything in your life that you're going through is just a preparation for the next phase of your victory. Everything in your life that you're going through is just preparation for the phase of your next victory. Everything you went through in 2024, good or bad, right? It's just preparing you for your next step. That's the mindset of a winner. Everything that I do is working for my good. You know why? Because I love God and I'm called according to his purpose. So when you love God, you might have setbacks. You're going to have setbacks. Let's put it that way. There ain't no might to it. You have those setbacks. But when you have those setbacks, now you take those and you say, hey, I know this is working for my good. I know this is working in my favor. Because God uses every setback. God doesn't waste anything. He doesn't waste any struggle. He doesn't waste any challenge. Anything that you're going through in your life is not wasted with God. So he's called us and put us in this opportunity of the Alliance to help people, to serve families. Oh, and by the way, when you do those and you get really good at it, you make a lot of money. All right. Before appointments, I get excited. Y'all know how I get sometimes. So staying sharp under pressure is the next part we want to talk about. And this kind of just leads into what I was just saying is when you have pressure, it's not a matter of if you're going to have pressure here. You're going to have pressure. Everything is going to come on you and you need to be prepared before it gets there. But what I want you to do is I want you to kind of see yourself like a sponge. You know what happens when a sponge, right? You can take a sponge and you squeeze the sponge. But whatever's in the sponge is going to come out of the sponge. What are you putting in? What are you putting in? What have you been listening to? Who have you been getting coaching from? What have you been reading? Are you reading the 8 steps? Are you doing the 8 steps? Like that stuff is going to come out of you. But if there's nothing good in you, guess what? Nothing good comes out of you. So it kind of gets like where I was just at with opportunity. We need to be putting the stuff in us before we get to the pressure moments, because you're going to have pressure and everybody's pressure is different, right? My pressure is different than somebody else's pressure, but understand that pressure creates diamonds, right? That's how they make diamonds. You're going under pressure. And that pressure is creating diamonds. And ultimately, that pressure, I thank God for the pressure, because it's in the pressure that God begins to produce your character. It's in the pressure that God produces your character. The pressure that you're going through right now in life is on purpose. But you can choose your pressure. Yep. Is it self-inflicted? Right? Just speak to this for a minute. Self-inflicted pressure is, man, I want to make some money, but you won't call the leads. I don't know what to tell you. Like, that's self-inflicted pressure. Or, man, I want to build a business, but you're not recruiting or talking to any of your friends. That's self-inflicted pressure. Or, I want to have the best marriage, but you're not investing in your marriage. That's self-inflicted pressure. I want to raise up young leaders, but you don't spend time with your kid. Like, that is self-inflicted pressure. You follow what I'm saying? So you're going to have pressure, but don't let it be the self-inflicted kind. Like all of that stuff that I just mentioned, that list of stuff with leads and recruiting and building, that's self-inflicted. That's stuff that you can control. You can control your activity. You can control your attitude. Those are things that we are controlled, like Andy's book, Inside the Circle of You, right? You can control all of those things. The stuff that's outside of your control, you can't control. But that stuff will also create pressure too. So I can't control who's getting in the White House, right? But what I can control, when they get there, I'm gonna pray for them. What I can control is what I do, right? That's what I can control. I can control going to the voting booth and making a vote and put my vote in, right? But I can't, once it's done, it's done. But some people spend time focused on stuff that they can't control, and that doesn't change anything. And so I want you to understand that when you're under pressure, to stay sharp, don't wait until you have the pressure moments to try to put stuff in. Because if you're waiting to try to put stuff in when the pressure moment comes, you've already missed the opportunity. If you're waiting to put stuff in when the pressure moment comes, you've already missed that opportunity. You want to be putting information in before the pressure situation starts. So here's some things that you can do, knowing that pressure's coming, knowing that it's coming, okay, is get up a little earlier and spend time reading. Right? Stay up a little later and spend time reading, spend time getting your mind right, because you know the pressure is coming. There's a young lady on our team that I've been coaching really closely. And, she's like, Marcus, I'm struggling with this. And the number one thing I ask her, same thing Andy asked me, is when things aren't going that way. He says, what are you reading? If you guys have been watching some of the Wednesday calls, he asked them about the books that they recommend or what are they reading. He's doing that on purpose because he knows that, hey, if I can keep them reading, that's something that can mentor them and coach them when they're not around me, because they're hearing good information. They're getting good information. And here, let me say this. Don't just read to get information. Read to apply the information that you're getting. Because if you read and you don't apply it, it really hasn't helped you. You've just wasted 30 minutes or 15 minutes, or you just wasted an hour if you're not applying the information that you're getting. So not only are you going to read, but now take the information that you're reading and apply it to your life, apply it to your business, and you'll be the better for it. So staying sharp under pressure, making sure you're reading, making sure you're guarding your mindset, and those things will help you stay sharp under pressure. All right. Now, point number 4, recovering from setbacks. So you're going to have setbacks. There's going to be people that leave your business and quit on you. There's going to be chargebacks. There's going to be, things that don't go your way. You didn't get the appointments you needed. You didn't get the sales you needed. They're going to hang up on you. They'll slam the door in your face. They'll kindly ask you to leave the house, and they didn't give you their bank and routing number, right? Like you're going to have setbacks. But how do you recover from the setbacks is critical. So another really good book, Emotional Intelligence. But one of the things, like when I do training, I love to teach people early in the game is you're going to have setbacks, but can you stay even emotionally? So it's the emotional line. So if I was sitting down with you and we were looking at a piece of paper, I would have on the top, there's a top line, and then there's a bottom line. And then in the middle, I'd have a dotted line. Okay. The top line, this is recovering from setbacks. The top line is the highs of the business. The bottom line is the lows. So a high might be, yes, I just got my first annuity sale, just got a $5,000 paycheck. Awesome, right? Fired up out of my mind. A low might be that same annuity that I just closed. Now the person died in the first year of the contract, so I got to pay it back. Or it might be, hey, this person left my business, and that was an organization that was producing 50 applications, $50,000 a month, right? And that was your biggest organization. So you're going to have these setbacks, the high and the low. But here's what I try to tell people when I'm coaching them. It's not a matter of if you're going to have them, you're going to have them, okay? So when you have the setback, though, the dotted line is the even, high, even, low, if you're looking at your piece of paper. When you have a high, don't run through the streets naked or, go spend all the money all in one place, right? Woohoo! This is awesome. And then when you have a setback, the appointment cancels, chargeback happens, people leave your business, quit on you after you've poured your life into them, right? It happens. Don't jump off the bridge and say, this sucks. I'm not interested. I'm going to get a job. I'm quitting. I'm going to go back and build someone else's dream. Like, does that make sense? So you're going to have these happen, but stay here. Stay right here and even. So when you have that high, the 5,000, that's nice. So you celebrate a little bit. You feel good, right? When you have that low, it is what it is, but you got to keep going. So here's one of the things that I tell myself in those moments when I'm recovering from setbacks. So this is one of the things that I've told myself, and I think it'll help you if you adopt the mindset. This too shall pass. Yep. So when I have the $5,000 commission or I have the $76,000 commission in a month, guess what I tell myself? This too shall pass. Yep, we like it. Don't get me wrong. We're fired up about it. But this too shall pass. Same thing when I have that person leave my business, when I have that chargeback, when I have that day where it's just not going so well. I've sat with 10 people and I didn't make any sales, right? It happens to all of us. But guess what I tell myself? This too shall pass. Adopt that mindset. And if you do, it'll help you because it'll help you keep going. The biggest thing is when you have that setback, your emotional intelligence. Like when you have the setback, don't make any rash decisions in the moment. I'm going to say that one more time. When you have the setback, don't make any rash decisions in the moment. This goes for every area of your life. I know we're talking about business. Goes for your marriage, handling your kids, handling people in your business. When you have a setback, when you have that thing that's like, oh, I didn't see this coming, take time to get your emotions together before you make a decision. Like, don't make a decision in the heat of the moment that could impact the rest of your life, right? Like it would suck if you go do something that you're not supposed to do because you're upset and now you got to lose your insurance license, go to jail or something crazy like that. But I know that's an extreme I'm giving you, but I see it all too often. And it applies to business where a person has a couple stints, chargebacks, right? We call it chargeback hell. So they're in chargeback hell. You feel like you're out there working and selling for free. If y'all who've been selling, you know what I'm talking about. And then you get to a place where you're like, I don't even know if this is worth it. I'm gonna just go get a job. No. Don't make any decisions in that emotional state. Because when you're in that emotional state, you may make the wrong decision, right? And so you want to make sure you take time to get your emotions together. So there's a book called Emotional Intelligence by Daniel, I think it's Gilham, but that book is very good. There's Emotional Intelligence 2.0. I recommend reading those books. Step number 4, right? We're going to give you a lot of books today, but those books will help you be able to get your emotions in check. And really, it just comes like when something happens, take a second to breathe and say, okay, what is God trying to teach me here? What am I learning here in this situation? How can I get better from this moment, right? How can I grow from this? Because there's a growth moment in every seed of adversity. Every seed of adversity comes with a growth moment. So if that is the case, and since I believe that, when I have adversity or when I have the setbacks, how can I take that setback and use this to grow as a person? How can I take that setback and use this to grow as a man? Or how can I take that setback and use this to grow as a woman? How can I take this setback and use this to grow as a business leader? How can I take this setback and use it to grow as an entrepreneur, right? How can I take this setback and use it to grow as a husband? When you start saying that and you approach your setbacks, there's nothing that can stop you because God is just setting you up for your next victory. Right. But if you look at it as, oh, maybe God isn't telling me to do this anymore, or, it's funny. People say, well, I've been praying for an opportunity like this. And then you called me on this recruiting thing. And now here I am with the Alliance. And it's funny. They say, I'm praying about opportunities like this. And then God led me here. Right. And then those same people 90 days later didn't get any sales. They're not having the results. They leave and say, oh, well, God's leading me somewhere else. I'm like, based on what I see, that's not the God I know. Like he led you here. You have a couple of setbacks and now you think all of a sudden God's not in it anymore. No, when you start having setbacks, it's probably an indication that God is in it. He just wants you to press. He wants you to continue to go. And I said this on one of our calls, but I want you to catch this. When you make a decision, anytime you make a decision, it is followed by disruption. Any decision that you make is always followed by disruption. You make a decision to get married, disruption is going to come. You make a decision to live to honor God, you can believe that disruption is going to come. You make a decision to start your business and start your career selling life insurance, you better believe disruption is going to come. That's just how life is. The decision. God made the world, right? And then disruption came when the little serpent was sent down to, when Satan was sent down to earth. Decision is always followed by disruption. So understand that and know that that disruption is just part of the setback, but it's part of the battle. It's part of the story. It's part of the end result of where God is taking you. So when it comes to these things, the biggest thing is emotional intelligence. And then I think number 2 on this one, recovering from setbacks. All right, hear me and hear me clearly. Our mind cannot hold 2 thoughts at once. Yep, it cannot. So when I have that setback, if I focus on that, if I dwell on that, that is going to be what I focus on. And then that's going to be the energy that it produces with it. So again, I'm going to use that. I'm just going to use a chargeback as that situation. So you have the largest chargeback you've ever had. You feel like you're working for free and you're like, man, this sucks. If you dwell on that, right, that's going to be your focus. And whatever you focus on grows. Whatever you focus on grows. But here's what I know is my book says, give thanks in all things, because this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. So are you telling me, Marcus, when I have that large chargeback to tell God, thank you? I know it sounds weird. I know it sounds different. When I have that person quit on me, when I have that issue in my marriage, when my kids are acting funny, are you really telling me to say thank you? I am. Because gratitude, it doesn't change your situation overnight, but it changes your attitude toward the situation. And you get to pick your attitude. So when you have that setback, when you are in chargeback hell, when you aren't booking the appointments, when you aren't getting the results you want, guess what? God, I thank you. I know it sounds weird. And this is, like a opposite of what people would tell you to do. Try it. Because what happens is it changes your attitude. And when your attitude changes, your results begin to change. But if you are in a place where you can't be thankful or you don't have a heart of gratitude, that's when you start going downhill fast. Or when you're building a business and you're helping people, if you don't have a person who's grateful, watch out. And let me just say this, as a leader, if I ever get to a place where I'm not thankful for Andy and Jane, watch out. Something has happened in my heart. You have to guard your heart. Like, I'm so thankful for Carla. I'm so thankful for Andy and Jane. I'm so thankful for what God has given me. And when I say that, though, what happens is it helps me get my mind right. Because I know where I was before I met Andy and Jane, right? I know where I was and who I was before I married Carla, right? And so I say thank you for all those things, because these are things that God has given me. But what happens is it allows me to shift from the setback. Or let's do this. Let's say you're having a hard time kind of following me on this one. You're like, please don't turn the call off. If you're like, Marcus is tripping. He's telling me to say thank you for chargebacks. Like, this is crazy, right? What about this? Don't say thank you for the chargeback, but can you find something else to focus on? Like, if it is issues in your business, can you say thank you for things that are going positive in your marriage, right? Or your relationships? If it is an issue in your relationships, can you find things to be thankful for in your business, right? But what I'm really trying to tell you is, if you want to recover quickly from setbacks, you got to get to a place of gratitude. You got to get to a place of thanksgiving, right? And it says, enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise, right? When you start saying thank you, it attracts God. It attracts God. It gets God's attention. And I don't know about you all, but I need his attention, because I know who I am. And I know I'm toe up from the flow up. I'm Rochet's son. I'm Leslie D's son. And if I don't say thank you, then I don't want God to ever leave. I don't want his presence to ever leave. And so I know if gratitude attracts God and gratitude gets God's attention, I want to be the most grateful person that I can be, because I need him every single day, because I am a mess. And I know this. And so because I know that, I begin to tell him thank you for everything. The setbacks, the opportunities, the blessings. When I have the large deposits, God, I thank you. Because it's easy to tell God thank you when you have the money in the bank, when everything is going good. But can you tell God thank you when you're on food stamps? I did it. Can you tell God thank you when you can only get a few toys for kids for Christmas? I did. Can you tell God thank you when you have setbacks in your marriage? I did. And it didn't change overnight. But what it did is it let me know that God is still with me, that God is still providing for me, that God is still taking care of me. And so when you're recovering from setbacks, what are you focused on? What are you focused on? And then the third thing on this one, in the same vein, and I said it earlier, but I'm going to say it again. When I have a setback, I remind myself of who I am and whose I am. When I have a setback, I remind me of myself of who I am and whose I am. I think about the promises. And here's one of my favorite promises. My favorite promises is when he says, I am with you, Marcus. I will never leave you or forsake you. So in my setback, in my failure, in my lack of production, in my lack of results, in my business dipping down, I say, God, I thank you because you are with me. You're with me in the storm. You're with me in the depression. You're with me in the anxiety and the anxiousness around Christmas. You're with me in it all. And so when you kind of have that mindset, understand this. When you know that God is with you, greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world. There is nothing that anyone can do to stop you. You become unstoppable when you hold on to that promise. It's easy to rebound from setbacks when you say this to yourself: God is with me. So again, let me challenge you. Thanksgiving, right? Emotional intelligence, Thanksgiving, and then holding on to his promise that I will never leave you nor forsake you. That word forsake in the original writing, it means to be inactive. So what that's telling me is that, even when I'm going through this and I might not see God moving, he's still moving. God is always active in our lives. And we got to thank him for being active in our lives and thank him for taking us to the next dimension, and thank him for every situation that you come up against, because he is using that situation to get glory out of the situation. All right. Now, discover what fuels his focus. So what fuels focus? I'm going to say this, and those who've kind of been around me for a while, you know this, but I have shifted from when I first started with the Alliance to just making the $500 a pop to purpose. What fuels focus is purpose. And then purpose, listen to me on this one. Purpose, your purpose in life, purpose comes before production. I'm going to say that one more time. Purpose comes before production. What's your purpose for being here? My purpose when I first started, I wanted to help people not have that same experience that we had 14 years ago with my mom. My mom died, no life insurance. We had no money. I had to put it on a credit card, and it was a terrible situation. So my purpose was and has been to help people not have that same experience. And then it's grown. Is now the purpose is, how can I help more people not have that same experience, but also experience the culture of the Alliance, the environment that's changed my life and helped me become a better husband, a better father, a better mentor, a better leader? How can I create that? That's the purpose. So again, purpose means the reason why something exists. So when you understand your purpose, nothing can move you or shake you. No setback, no issue, because you understand why you're here. That is something that you have to get clear on. I can't do it for you. I can encourage you, and calls like this can encourage you, and your mentor can encourage you, and your growing up line can encourage you. But ultimately, you got to know that we're building something, and you got to get like Nehemiah. He says, I'm not coming down because we're building a good work. What that means is, don't get distracted. Don't get distracted by the naysayers. Don't get distracted by the people close to you in your family that are telling you, hey, come over here and do this, or let's go do that. No. I'm building something for God here. I'm doing a work. And you say, Marcus, this has got to do with business. I'm telling you, this has everything to do with business. When you understand your purpose, it's easy to quit on a job, but you can never quit on your purpose. It's easy to quit on a job if you just see this as a job, but I see this as a purpose. There is a purpose for why God brought me and Andy together. There's a purpose for why God brought Carl and I together, right? There's a purpose for why I'm here at the Alliance. There's a purpose for why you're here at the Alliance, right? And stay with us, stay close enough to us. Make sure you come in January so you can help uncover your purpose. If you don't know your purpose, please come in January. We're going to show you, we're going to open up the treasure chest, and we're going to help you unlock your purpose, right? And your purpose is not just to make money, pay bills, and die. Like, there's more in you. And know that the fact that you're here and you still got breath in your body means that God's not done with you, and he's not done with the purpose for why he created you. So what fuels my focus is my purpose. I'm going to read something to you real quick. This is off the Common Denominator of Success. Here's what it says. It says, I am here for a purpose. And that purpose is to grow into a mountain, not to shrink to a grain of sand. Henceforth, apply all my efforts to become the highest mountain of all, and I will strain my potential until it cries for mercy. That's by Og Mandino, the greatest salesman of the world. I'm going to read it one more time. I am here for a purpose. You are here for a purpose. We are here. And I'm not talking about just the alliance. I'm talking about on the earth. We are here for a purpose, and God has brought you to the alliance to help you uncover your purpose. And that purpose is to grow into a mountain, not to shrink to a grain of sand, right? Or if you're listening to me, I would say that purpose is to become into the full measure of who God called you to be, the full measure and stature of Christ. That purpose is to become who God said you are to be when he created you in your mother's womb. And then it says, henceforth, right? I will shrink. So because that is my purpose to become everything that God created me to be, guess what? I'm not going to shrink. I'm not going to shrink at the grains of sand. I'm going to apply myself with all my efforts to become the highest mountain of all, and I will strain my potential until it cries for mercy. That's my heart as we close out 24 going into 25, is give it everything you got. Let's leave it all on the field. And this is what fuels my focus, because I'm not thinking about just getting a dollar bill. I'm thinking about, how can I be a person of value? How can I be a person of value to my clients? How can I be a person of value to my agents? How can I be a person of value to my wife? How can I be a person of value to my kids? And when you become a person of value, that's when you make more money. Because people pay for value, right? That's a sales tactic 101. If they don't, you can tell them it's $1, but if they don't see any value in your product, they're not going to buy it. If they don't see any value in you as a leader, they're not going to follow you. If they don't see any value in you as a husband, if they don't see any value in you as a wife, right? If the kids don't see any value in what you're doing and who you say you're following, right? Are you becoming a person of value? That's the focus. Is every situation that I've been talking to you about up to this point is really to help you understand that value is what it's all about. How can you become a person of value so that you add value to everyone you come in contact with, from your clients to your agents, to your loved ones, to your spouse, to those who follow you? Become a person of value, become a person of influence. And guess what? People will flock to you. They will want to get around you. They will want to hear what you have to say. They will want to come to your meetings, to your hotspots, because you're a person of value. Because every time you show up, every time you open up your mouth, they're going to get value. And here's what, everybody knows this, but I'm going to say it. Everybody wants to know what's in it for me. Everybody. And if you show up and you don't give them any value, there's nothing in it. So they stop showing up. So focus this year, the close of this year, ask yourself, what are some habits I can develop to become a person of value? What are some things I can do to be more valuable today than I was yesterday? What are some things that I can do to be more valuable? Reading the books, 8 Steps to Success, right? Coming to our meetings, coming to the big event in January. Like, those events have literally changed my life, right? So why would I not go? I'm trying to become a person of value. I'm trying to continue to grow into who God called me to be. You're trying to continue to grow into what God put on the inside of you. But sometimes there's things on the inside of you. You hear what I said? Inside of you. Your purpose is not out of you, on the outside. Your purpose is not in someone else. God put your purpose on the inside of you. So if your purpose is on the inside of you, that means that you're going to have to dig it out to get it. You're going to have someone come around you that can help you unlock your purpose. That's what Andy and Jane have done for us. They've helped us unlock a part of our purpose that's allowed us to go to these next levels that God has called us to. There's people in your sphere of influence that you need to unlock their purpose, but you got to get them in their sphere of influence. You got to get them around you. You got to get them around our culture. You got to get them in. All right. Discover what fuels them. As you guys can hear, you probably hear it in my voice. My faith in God. My faith in God is what fuels me. I know that I'm nothing without him. Nothing. And I don't try to pretend that I am. I don't think that I'm someone that I'm not. I know that I'm this little boy from Aurora, Colorado, Roche and Leslie D's son. But I also know that he put a treasure on the inside of us so that the excellency that you see is not of Marcus, but that it's of him who called us. And so that is what fuels me. There's a treasure inside this vessel. There's a treasure on the inside of you. If I was looking at you right now, I would look you in your eyes and say, there's a treasure on the inside of you. But as my wife has often reminded me, everything we're saying, you got to understand that this is for you and that you're worthy to receive everything that God promised you. Why? Because he gave his life to give it to you. He gave his life to give it to you. So that's what fuels me, is my faith in him. My faith in him. My faith in God is what fuels me. What fuels you? What gets you going in the morning? What wakes you up? What allows you to go past it, past the setbacks? Like my faith that, hey, if he was in there in the furnace and said, we put 3 in, but there was one, looked like the Son of God walking around with them in their fire. If he was in there for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, if he was in the lion's den, if he was in that lion's den with Daniel, because Daniel wouldn't bow his knee and conform, if he was with Jesus on the cross, if he was with him in the Garden of Gethsemane, if he was with Abraham when Abraham didn't even know where he was going, all he was doing was following the voice. If he was with Abraham, guess what? He'll be with me. If he was with Joshua when he was fulfilling his assignment, guess what? He'll be with us, right? This is what fuels me, is going through these promises. And you say, but Marcus, I don't read my Bible. Well, you can start, right? Or I don't know where to start. The Gospels would be a good place to start. But if he was with those 12 men who offered nothing, they were fishermen, they were tax collectors, they were just like you and me. If he was with them, showed them how to become who he called them to be, and they changed the world, he can be with us. So when you say what fuels you, this is what fuels me. My faith in God. Now you say, Marcus, I'm not a man of faith. I'm not a religious person. I got you. By the way, I'm not a religious person either. I like to tell people that, and it kind of messes them up coming from the preacher. They're like, what? I'm a man of relationship. I'm a man who believes that Jesus came to give us a relationship. And that relationship has changed my life. My relationships that I've come in contact with over the last 13 years, being with Andy, have changed my life. My relationship with Carla over the last 21 years has changed my life. And I'm not talking as if it's perfect, because y'all of us have been married. You know what I'm talking about. But that relationship has changed my life. There are relationships in my circle of influence that have changed my life. The relationships I have with these leaders here at the Alliance have changed my life. And this is what fuels my focus, is I want to be that same person for others, just like Andy and Jane have been that for Carla and I. I want to be that for other people. This is what fuels my focus. All right. And we got one more thing, and we're going to wrap with this. So what we read, you guys have heard me reference it, but I'm going to say it again. If you have not read, if you're brand new with us and you're just getting started, you have not read the 8 Steps to Success, go on the Alliance bookstore. Okay, shop. I think they'll put it on wherever you guys are at on our social media, but shop at thealliance.com, I think is what it is. Buy the 8 Steps to Success, or if you're going to a hotspot, most of us carry those books with us. Buy a copy of the 8 Steps to Success, and then read Andy's book. And then after you read it, ask yourself this question. This is one of the things Andy taught me about 3 or 4 years ago, and it's really radically changed my life when I read. He said, Marcus, when you're reading something, say this: what is this book telling me to think, and what is it telling me to do? So when you read the 8 steps, what is the 8 steps telling me to think, and what is it telling me to do? Right? He's telling me to personal use, so I should have my own product. He's telling me to work, set up a calendar, set up a schedule. That means I should probably do that, right? Yes. He's telling me to listen to audios. Yes. To listen to my mentor. Yes. To listen to the Wednesday call, the Friday call, the Thursday call. Yes. He's telling me to read the books on the book list. Right? People say, well, what are you reading, Marcus? If you haven't read Andy's 8 steps and the book list on that book, don't even worry about what we're reading. You need to get to that. Okay. Number 5, attend all meetings. Oh, I should probably go to my local hotspot every week or every other week when they have it. Oh, I should get my conference ticket to Dallas, but it's going to cost me a lot. The book that I read says, when you find wisdom, pay everything you have to get it, and do everything you have to get it. So when you come with us in Dallas, you're going to be getting wisdom. Okay. Oh, I should probably communicate with a positive mental attitude. Step number 8. Yep. I should probably be accountable. Yeah. And be accountable to yourself. Be accountable to those who are following you. Be accountable to your God, right? he's gonna require something from us, right? Be accountable to your family. And then you also have be coachable, right? Accountable 6, coachable 7, and then number 8, positive mental attitude. Be coachable. Get coaching. So when you're having setbacks, who do you call? So for me, I like to call Andy. I also have a couple of the mentors in my life that I call and say, hey, here's what I'm dealing with at home. Here's what I'm dealing with in my business. I need help. Help me think differently about this. Get coaching. Like I said earlier in the call, don't make any rash decisions based on the emotional setback. Talk to someone first. Let them walk you through it. You can't change your situation with the same level of thinking that created it. You can't change your situation with the same level of thinking that created it. So if you got yourself in this bad spot, you got $50,000 in debt, it was your thinking that created that, right? It was your habits. It was your thinking. So get with someone who doesn't have the $50,000 of debt, who can pay off their debt, who did that, and figure out, hey, how did you do that? Teach me, coach me. Really what it takes is humbling yourself and saying, hey, I need help. I don't have this all together. I don't have it all figured out. I need some help. So 8 steps is what I read. Another great one is how I know Andy did this with Mimi and the ladies on the call, Chloe and Kath on Wednesday. If you guys didn't see our Wednesday call, go back and watch that. But he asked them what books they're reading, and they referenced several good ones. I just want to give you a few more. How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling Radically Changed My Life. Radically Changed My Life is by Frank Betcher. Again, you can get these all in our bookstore. It's in Andy's book list. Inside the Circle of You, Radically Changed My Life. It's an Andy Albright book. Get that book. The Millionaire Maker Manual. Get that book. The House of Values. Get that book, right? And then another great one for attitude. This is a great one. Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude by W. Clement Stone. And in that book, you hear people's success stories, the Fuller Brush Man, how he had to do certain things and God came through for him. You hear the guy who did the thing with the pearls and how he created a whole business based on the pearl business. You hear people that had their business burned down to the floor and came up. Success through a positive mental attitude. Your attitude determines your altitude, right? And then you have, this one is a really good one. And they did talk about this on the call, but I want to just hit it again. Go for no. Go for No. It's a little short book, can probably be read in one setting. It changed my life because it helped shift my mindset of not just trying to get the yes. The no's are what I go through to get to that yes, right? We all are looking for the yes, but the no's is what I go through to get through the yes. And then this one here, I read a little bit of it today, The Common Denominator of Success by Albert Gray. You can also get that from our bookstore. And I'm going to read this to you. It's on page 11. Here's what it says. It says, the common denominator of success is this. The common denominator of success, the secret to success of every person who has ever been successful lies in the fact that he or she has formed the habit, listen to that, he or she has formed the habit of doing things that failures don't like to do. Failures don't like to make a bunch of calls on leads. Failures don't like to make a bunch of calls recruiting. Failures don't like to go see people and travel and help them in their business. Failures don't like to go and see people and sell the product. So find out what the failures are doing. You do the opposite and then make it a habit. And then last but not least, it says, who inspires him? So you guys have heard me reference it before, but I'm inspired by Andy and what he's built and what he's done, him and Jane and their marriage, right? I'm inspired by Martin Luther King Jr., who, against all odds, against adversity, went through everything he went through and gave his life for something that was greater than himself, right? And we're the benefactors of the civil rights movement, right? I'm inspired by Mahatma Gandhi. I'm inspired by my mom and dad. Roche and Leslie. I'm inspired by those who have poured into me. And last but not least, I'm inspired by Jesus, the Son of God. He is my number one inspiration. What he did and how he did it. We're about to celebrate Christmas on Wednesday. I'm going to say Merry Christmas to you. And so those are the ones who inspire me. And then I look at their life and look at, hey, what can I glean from them? And then when it comes to gleaning from Jesus, I highly recommend reading your Bible. Right. And then another person that inspires me, and for those who've been with me, y'all know I try to do this everywhere I go. Read a proverb a day for the day that it is. So today is December 20th. So guess what? You should read Proverbs 20. We have 31 days. So you should get through. There's 31 chapters in Proverbs. Read a proverb a day and let Solomon mentor you. And then ask yourself, what is Solomon telling me to think, and what is he telling me to do? I believe if you take these steps and these keys and apply it to the rest of 2024, and you use this and create those habits, you'll go into 2025 on fire. You'll have the best Christmas, the best 2025 you've ever had. And that's my hope. And that was my plan for this call, is to inspire you to keep going. Don't give up in the setbacks. Don't give up in the opposition, but know that God is for you, right? But in order for God to continue to be for you, do some of these things that we talked about, and check your relationship, check your spiritual connection, and ask yourself, are you connected to the vine? And if not, how can I be connected? So that way I can have the most prosperous 2024 and finish this year out correctly and have a successful 2025. So be encouraged. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in January. I'm looking forward to seeing you in Cabo. And then we got Thailand coming up, y'all. So roll up your sleeves. Let's get after it. It does take more production to hit Thailand in 2025 for 2026. But be blessed. Thank you guys for tuning in. And I hope this blessed you, and have a great rest of the week, and Merry Christmas from Marcus Richardson. We love you guys. Take care.